Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of the Ultimate Effort Show with Alex.
And Joe.
And in today's show, our little midweek update,
Yeah.
Joe, I thought it'd be good because we've been releasing a lot of long content here lately. Maybe we just
hmm
hit something, kind of quick. Just,
Yeah, a one shot as
yeah,
opposed to a campaign.
yes, a one shot tonight. Um, and This comes from ultimately Facebook, so the ICRPG
Nice.
official group. And we had a commenter ask, uh, are equipped items considered carried as well?
Ooh. Ooh.
Great question.
Right?
Great question.
The eternal struggle, which came first, the equipped or the carried?
Right, right. And I don't know about you, Joe. Just maybe just to back up a step before we get to that.
Mhm.
Um, do you have any general thoughts on encumbrance, carrying capacity, like by whatever name it's known? Right, some
Right?
limitation on what
Right?
you can hold, weight, all that kind of stuff. Do you have some general thoughts on the concept?
Yeah. I mean, I like it's just over my shoulder here. For those listening at home without seeing our faces, I'm pointing over my shoulder at the ICRPG Master Edition. Um, there we go. Yeah, so basically I'm pulling right out of that because I mean, as you know, I pretty much play ICRPG all the time.
Hmm.
So I go with the 10 and 10. That's your max. That's your encumbrance. 10 items carried, 10 items
Hmm.
equipped.
Yeah, and you,
That's
I,
it.
you, I think you're referring to page 29.
Oh yeah, I should pull the book
Uh
out.
huh.
Page 29.
At the bottom, inventory is limited to 10 carried items and 10 equipped items. And then there's this little
That would be the
caveat
one.
too that says carried items must be equipped to offer benefit or be used. Right. So the idea is you've got stuff in a backpack somewhere. All that's just generally carried, but to have any sort of benefit, if the items have properties or abilities, they have to be quote unquote equipped. And this is also
Mhm.
reinforced, by the way, at the end of the book in the character sheet, where you're going to see that notation, and you're going to see little bubbles to kind of
Bubbles.
differentiate between carried and equipped.
Right? Because everybody loves filling in bubbles. So utilize it.
Right, right, right. But
I'm with Hank on that one. I like filling in the bubbles.
yeah, me too. But I want you to take a stab at this and sort of your thoughts on it.
Yeah, yeah.
But I want to back up first here, Joe, and I just want to say
hmm
generally, in terms of how people like to play, right? Like I'm not sure that gamists like me, and I'm pretty squarely in that camp. Like we don't care a whole lot generally about inventory or inventory management or carrying capacity or encumbrance or any of that sort of stuff that kind of takes away from the game experience, right? Like
hmm
we want to get to the action. I also don't know that narrativists, like, I don't know, in terms of like, the RP being sort of the focus and the
Yeah.
story being the focus, that they carry so much about that. I do
Right.
think that probably people who are more simulationist, I think they're more concerned about a limiter in terms of like
Yeah.
like what makes sense, right? Like
Exactly.
there's
What's the logical notion for it?
yeah, like nobody walks around with 10 swords, like nobody does that.
Right. Right.
So
And that's cool too. I mean, there's definitely a lot of folks that enjoy that bookkeeping aspect. How many arrows down to the number do I have? How many extra fletchings do I have for making new arrows? And that's totally awesome. That
yeah,
if that's the thing that
well,
rocks your game experience, like keep track of all of it.
well,
But
right.
in ICRPG, we're a little bit more on the we're a little bit more on those first two.
Yeah, and we're dialing into that. But let me back up
Yep.
too, and let me say
Yeah,
because
yeah, of course.
because you end up with people who sort of argue about this sometimes, right? And I think the tension is, on the one hand, you have folks who do enjoy all of that sort of accounting, and they would say, there has to be some limiter. There
Yeah.
there has to be some sort of threshold because otherwise you just go into a fight with 600 potions. Right,
Right.
that's certainly reality bending, although
Right.
I my eyebrow does go up when people are just like, well, in reality, and I'm like, well, dude, we just fought imps. Come on,
Right.
give me a break.
Reality stopped a while ago.
Yeah, right. We got off that train, like the moment I walked through your door, because
Right.
yeah,
We just fought imps, and I'm an elf.
yeah, right. Like that passed that ship. So, but anyway, but they would say, there should be maybe
Yeah. No.
some limiter, right? But the other side of that,
Yeah. Yeah.
right, is all that bookkeeping. And I would say, two pieces about that. One is most folks I know, when we play, you might start doing that and then it completely goes out the window. Like a lot of people just give up on it
Mhm.
anyway. And two, I think the reason why a lot of people give up on it is because your game, or at least that piece of your game, turns into some busy work, right? Like,
Right.
like you remember way back in school, like nobody likes busy work, like nobody,
Right.
because if you start keeping track of your stuff, and like some systems do it by weight, and you're just
Hmm.
like, but now I gotta, add up all the pounds of all my, like suddenly you're doing a math problem, like
Right.
that just doesn't seem so. ICRPG handles encumbrance with
Um,
this whole 10 carried, 10 equipped thing.
right. That same recurring nice round number. One heart, 10 hit points.
Hmm.
Gear, 10 carried, 10 equipped.
Yes. Now, I am curious, Joe, from your standpoint,
Hmm.
how do you handle the 10 equipped, 10 carried piece? Like, did like if somebody doesn't have their bubble filled, like can they not use an item? Like when can they swap between them? Like what's your take?
Yeah, well, I mean, for me, I mean, you've been at the table, a lot with me, sitting kind of in the GM seat. I'm, you know, I do understand that the equipped item gives you the bonus. Say if you've got a shield that's giving you a bonus, you take it off and slide it onto your back because you need to use your bow. Obviously, you're going to lose the shield bonus, but I'm not going to penalize anybody if they're standing there. They're in that melee stance. You know, last turn they just cut somebody down, so they're free and clear in the immediate area. It comes back around to them again, and they tell me, all right, I'm going to stow my sword, put my shield on my back, and pull out my bow as I'm moving to this new spot and take my shot. And I'd be like, rock on, let's do it.
Hmm.
You know, describe, get into detail and describe if you want, but when it comes down to it, let's push right into rolling that bow shot. And so I think the thing right there is kind of answered your question
Okay.
in that sense that they've got that sword and shield equipped, and I'm totally cool with them stowing that while they're. I mean, these are competent heroes.
Yeah. Right.
These are not like four
Right.
thumbed like nincompoops. Like
Right. They're
they
not
can
three
put a
thumbed
sword
lumpy
and
heads like
shield
me.
away whoop, and pull a bow off, and all doing that while they're running like 20, 30 feet. Like I'm totally cool with that.
Yeah.
But obviously, you need to have the things in your hand if you're going to actually use it.
Hmm. Great.
So
Great take. Great.
yeah, I mean, I know sometimes I know you've done it. I know I've done it. I know all the guys at our table, all the folks at our table have done it. There's those moments where you almost nerf yourself,
Hmm.
for the narrative because you're like, okay, well, I got to dig into my bag, and I think it's a little farther in there than me just being able to pull it right out.
Right.
So like you give yourself like that nerfed extra beat of this is taking me the whole turn
Yeah.
to dig
Exactly.
this thing out because it feels like the good thing in the moment. And your buddies might be getting stomped on by ogres, and you're just like, it's in the bottom. Hold on.
Yeah.
It's gonna take
Exactly.
me around.
Exactly. Well, yeah. I mean, to me, Joe, and I'm probably even going to go one, maybe even one step better, even.
Oh
But
yeah.
but first, let me just say, from my standpoint, it just boils down to common sense for me.
Yeah.
Like in that moment in the fiction, maybe I'm more narrativist than I thought. In that moment of the story, what kind of makes sense. And to your point, these are heroes. Like they're epic. Like
Mhm.
I if they're just like no, you have to burn your action to switch between your sword and your crossbow and like no, like you should be able to to do that while moving from cover to cover while taking your movement. Like that is no problem to me. Uh, but common sense might also dictate if you're just like, I'm going to completely change into this spacesuit,
Yeah,
right?
that's a
Like,
different bit.
yeah, like well, you got to pull on boots and like the helmet's got to click, like yeah, right. You can be looking through your ear hole, like that
It's got
probably
to pressurize.
right, like that probably would take your action in the moment, so that
Yeah.
would be someplace on the other end. Like to me,
Mhm.
common sense is going to kind of dictate those situations, and I think a lot of people maybe who kind of give up on tracking all that stuff. I think that may be sort of their take too. Like it's all about common sense. But
Right.
I said I would do one better, and that is to me, in terms of 10 carried, 10 equipped, I just say you got 20 items. Like typically. And so to your example, if somebody's just like, yeah, I'm gonna put my shield on my back and use my crossbow, like I don't care if they still use that +2 for their AC bonus. I legit don't. I mean, to me, their back is armored, right?
All right.
you
A little
know
bit of turtle action.
exactly.
Am I
So
not turtly enough for the turtle club?
yeah, right.
Sorry.
You smack me, I smack you. so so in terms of those things, like I just don't get too um, bothered by those fine distinctions.
Hmm.
And I think maybe what I might invite some of our audience to do, because there's no rule that says that you got to burn an action to swap items,
Yeah.
or that you got to painstakingly fill out those bubbles. To
Hmm.
me, there's just a 20 item limit. Once you get to that limit, then you're probably gonna have to make some hard choices.
Oh yeah, I've been there, and those choices do start to get tough when you're looking through that list. And you're like, crap.
Yeah, right.
Who's got some space? I need you to hold these books for me
Yeah, right.
because I got to pick that thing up.
I'm rolling on this loot table. Come on, Ronaldo's back wagon.
Yes.
I can increase my
Oh
carrying
man.
capacity, right?
Right, by a whole nother 20.
And I would just say, the way that ICRPG handles that, it's just such an elegant way. You've just got these
Yeah.
slots. You can't exceed the slots.
Mhm.
That's just sort of the end of the story to me.
Right. And it can totally be, for people looking for a little deeper bit, you can easily, just as easily, because I think most of the even ammo and stuff, it's like a quiver holds 20 arrows. You can totally like, get down in the simulationist and track your arrows like
Yeah.
100%. I mean, I'm doing it in our Ghost Mountain campaign that
Mm-hmm.
Alex is running. It also helps with the whole tone of that world that,
Absolutely.
of course I'm tracking, okay, well, I've got a 4-shot revolver, so I keep 4 rounds. I have a dice that I use that I just track that with. Then I've got a spot written down with my extra ammo and which ammo is silver, just so I know. For the record, 3 silver ammo. I have 2 regular bullets and my gun is full.
Yep. Exactly.
So
Yeah.
yeah, I'm tracking it all, but it's a tonal thing.
Yep.
But you could totally do that with anything in ICRPG.
Absolutely. Like make it work for your table, make it
Yeah.
work for your group. From my standpoint, we're going to keep it ultra simple, boil it down to its bare essence. Don't go over 20. You're good.
Mhm.
Joe might offer a slightly finer distinction at his table. It's got to be in your hand. To me, it's common sense, right? Like, like you can't wear like 3 chest plates. Like, come on.
Yeah.
Like that sort of thing. But Joe might have a slightly finer distinction, but it's all good. Make it work for you and for you and your table, your players.
Totally. Oh,
But
wake up, camera.
10 carried, 10 equipped.
There we go. Yep. 10
That's
carried, 10 equipped.
that's the basic rule. Be a problem child like me and go with 20. Or just stick with that. But there's nothing that says you got to burn an action to swap them. If that's the way you want to play, by all means do it. But we're just not. Joe and I are probably not going to slow down play for folks unless it just makes sense. Like I've got to.
Yeah. Or unless you nerf yourself, because
Yep.
I mean, we
Because
do it all the time.
because it feels right in the moment. Yeah, absolutely. Yep. All right,
Yeah. Sorry.
Joe. I think that's it for this week for our midweek update.
Yeah, I guess so. Well, thankfully, I don't have to dig too far to get my equipped item. In the meantime, folks, take my hero coin.
Hero coins do not take up space. I want to make that clear. Like you do not.
That's true.
Yeah.
That's true.
Whew.
It is a non-tangible currency.
Do not want to leave that impression.
Yeah, that's right. This isn't a wizard spell.
Yeah.
It takes no inventory space.
No inventory. All right, everyone. Thanks again so much. thanks for all the awesome feedback on the recent episodes. We're super grateful for all your questions, for all your input, for all your awesome comments, for all the support. Thank you from the bottom of our hearts. Until then, may your dice roll ultimate.